That's the White Plains there. I've got you on my mind. That's from 1970. Now I am joined in the studio by local author Jeremy Kitt. Good morning.
Morning, Janette. Pleasure to be here.
Really nice to speak to you. Thank you very much for coming in. Now, you're here to talk about your latest book. It's just out, and it's about, you want to make us all happy.
That's the general idea.
It's called Making Happiness a Habit. How did you come to, what made you want to write a book about being happy?
Well, my profession actually is web designer, so that's what I do for my day job.
Oh, you make lots of us very miserable then.
Yeah, so I felt I had to do something to No, about 3 years ago, my son Lewis was about to leave for university, and I thought it's incumbent upon me as his father to give him some good advice as he heads out into the world for the first time. So that was really where we sort of sat around and chatted and decided what was important in life was to be happy. And just I started to read around it for my own interest, really. And then about a year ago, I was at a local party, and we were talking about happiness, and somebody said, "Why don't you write a book on that?" As they always do, don't they?
Yeah.
And at the time, I thought nothing of it. But then a bit later on, I thought, actually, maybe there is a book in this. So that's what I've done. I've written a book on the subject. I think it helps to formulate your ideas by writing a book. And I think I've actually got something practical and useful to say.
Yeah, I think what you've just said there, actually, very, very true. Sometimes you've got all these thoughts going around in your head, haven't you? And you actually only really distill those thoughts by putting them on paper.
Exactly.
And and that helps you sort of sort them out. So it was a bit of, sort of empty nest, flying the nest syndrome.
I suppose so, yes, but I don't like to admit that, being a guy.
And then it was a glass of red wine, was it?
I think it was several glasses of malt whiskies.
Oh, was it? Okay. Oh, well, it's your own.
It was that sort of 2 o'clock in the morning thing when you put the world to rights, you know.
Oh yes, been there and thrown away the T-shirt many times.
Exactly.
So you've written a book about making happiness a habit. It's a very, I suppose it's a very personal thing, happiness, isn't it? And you're talking here in the notes I've got here about the paradox of happiness. That's fascinating. Tell me about that.
Okay, the paradox of happiness is actually, my book is really a reaction against that view. The paradox of happiness states you cannot be happy. If you try to be, the more you try to make yourself happy, the more you will fail, and ultimately that will make you unhappy. So what the paradox of happiness says, don't try to be unhappy. Don't try to be happy, because you will make yourself unhappy. Now, according to that view, it says, don't worry, there are some things you can do. You can try and mitigate against being unhappy, for example. I mean, you could sort of do things you don't like doing, like diet and exercise so that you're healthier, or, so you don't get sick and become unhappy. Or you can get a good job and earn lots of money. Not that lots of money will necessarily make you happy, but believe me, having no money will definitely make you unhappy. And there are other things it says you can do. It says, one of the things it says, although you cannot hope to be happy by pursuing happiness in its own right, this is a view I don't agree with. I think you should pursue happiness in its own right. But it says, although you can't do that in its own right, you can sort of foster an environment where happiness will occur naturally. So it says, if you get married, raise a family, if you're lucky, you'll be happy. If you find a job in life that you really love, if you're lucky, you'll be happy. I say all of those things are good ideas and you should do them, but I actually don't believe in the paradox of happiness. My book is, as I said, is a reaction against that. And what it basically says is happiness is important. It's an end in itself, and it is one that is definitely worth pursuing.
Yeah.
And that's what I investigate in my book.
Okay, so, basically you shouldn't say, this is a silly example really, but it's just popped into my head. You shouldn't say, I'm going to eat chocolate because it makes me happy. I'm going to go to, I'm going to go to Spain because it makes me happy. You should actually just do the things that just give you a general, I suppose, an aura of feeling good and...
Okay, well, the word happiness itself actually means 2 different things. It's a paradox in itself. On the one hand, happiness means a state of mind, and on the other one, it's an emotional state. So as a state of mind, you say, if you're a football fan and you've just scored the winning goal against Germany in the World Cup final, how do you feel? Ecstatic. You feel euphoric. That would be happiness.
That was my son that was my son at the weekend when Arsenal won the blooming FA Cup.
Exactly. So that is happiness then, very much. That's a state of mind.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you said, for example, I've been to see my financial advisor, they've made some investments for me, I'm now happy that my family is financially secure, you're not euphoric, are you? You're contented.
No. Yeah.
So happiness there is more, it's not an emotional state, it's a state of mind.
Okay.
It's a long-term thing. So happiness means those two things at the same time.
Okay.
And they're almost contradictory, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean, we all do, you're absolutely right when you say don't do things that are going to make you miserable. If dieting really, really makes you miserable because you can't deal with the hunger or you can't eat the things that give you pleasure, don't do it, find another way. But, how important is behaviour then in actually making us happy?
The reason I called my book Making Happiness a Habit, because it's all about, I think there are three things that actually determine our happiness, or in fact determine our outlook on life. They're the things we say, the things we do, and the things we feel. Okay, so our emotions, the things we feel, our actions, the things we do, and the things we say and think, those are our values and our opinions. And all three interact with each other all the time. If you look at advertising, for example, what it's seeking to do is manipulate two of them to change the third, to change your emotions, to change the way you think, to change the way that you behave, to make you buy the product. And so what I say in terms of, if you really want to make yourself happy, you should look at your behaviour, because it's a long-term change. It becomes habitual as it becomes. We're all creatures of habit, aren't we? Every time you drive a car, it's a habit. You're not thinking about mechanics of it. If you play a musical instrument, the same. So we're creatures of habit, and it's trying to change your outlook on a long-term basis so that it becomes habitual, so that you become more positive in your outlook, so that you become much higher in terms of your own self-esteem, and you become just more positive in life, happier in short.
Okay, so I suppose thinking back, this is not a new concept, is it? You think back even 400 or 500 years, and Thomas More wrote his book Utopia, which was about a perfect world. Indeed. Where everyone, would be happy and they had everything they wanted emotionally and materially. So it's an age-old, I suppose, quest. We all want this state, isn't it? Nobody wants to be miserable, but we don't live in utopia. There are bad things happen in the world. We've had a very recent example of that up in Manchester. What are the impacts of those sort of events on our state of happiness?
Because we all think that the impact of those events, and I think that myself, is going to be forever, because it's devastating when it happens. But actually there was some interesting research done back in 1978, published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology. And what they did was they looked at people's happiness before and after life-changing events. And they picked two types of event, one positive and one negative. The positive one, people won huge sums of money, life-changing sums of money. The negative one was that people were involved in very bad car accidents, and some of the people were paraplegic or quadriplegic as a result of these accidents. And what they found was this: before the accident, as it were, before the incident, they measured their happiness. And we all have like a default level of happiness. It goes up and down, it's an average, but that's kind of how happy we are. And what they found, within a surprisingly short time after the life-changing event, maybe within a year, 2 years even, that short, we would revolve back to the equilibrium of how happy we were before. So although these things have a devastating effect, it may not be a life-changing or permanent devastating effect, or even a good effect if it's a happy thing.
Okay.
And my book really is about trying to increase or boost the default level of happiness so that people are better able to cope with whatever events happen in their life.
Okay, because life chucks all sorts of stuff at you. Now, you're obviously it's a topic you're obviously extremely passionate about. You've published your book. It's on Kindle, and it's also available in old-fashioned paperback, which is actually my personal preference. I do like the smell of a new book. It's just wonderful. It's a big treat when they arrive in the post. How can people get it?
Okay, well, first of all, it's available exclusively on Amazon. If you go and you put Making Happiness a Habit into Amazon in the UK, you can buy it. It's available to download as a Kindle, that's £8. If you want to buy it as a paperback, it's £10 and a penny. Now, the reason I made it £10 and a penny, Amazon don't charge any postage and packaging for orders over £10. So I made it £10 and a penny to save you that £2.99 per order. It was £9.99. that when I first put it on, and I thought, hang on a minute, people have been charging nearly another £3 per order. Why don't I just boost up? And so that's what I've did, and it works.
I just buy something else.
Yeah, I think that's what Amazon wants you to do.
Yeah, I know.
Buy two.
I'm an absolute sucker for things like that. I really am. And if people want to find out a little bit more about you, Jeremy, or they just want to look you up online, where can they go look for that?
I've actually, because I very much want this to be not just me telling you everything about happiness, but to be a dialogue. So I've set up a website where people can go onto a forum and discuss their own ideas and their own and how they put some of my ideas into action. And that's makinghappinessahabit.com, or I'm available Jeremy Kit on Twitter, the Twitter handle or on Facebook.
Okay, lovely. Well, Jeremy, thank you very much for coming into the studio this morning. It is a fascinating topic, and I'm sure the more and more, you've obviously done a huge amount of research, but I'm sure there's even more perhaps that you want to do, because it sounds like you want to sort of expand this. So it's really good to talk to you, and thank you for coming and talking about your book, and hopefully lots of people are going to go and look on Kindle and on Amazon and buy it and be happier as a result.
I hope so. Thank you.
Jeremy, thank you very much. Okay, it's now 18 minutes past 11. This is Julia Michaels with Issues.